Wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for joining for the Business Growth Kickstart. Um, when Ronnie and I were sitting and brainstorming, okay, what would our clients, our coaching clients, our association clients, our entrepreneurial clients find most valuable? At this time of year, people are going into, the holiday season and everything. It always struck me that there's a disconnect between the special months of December, January, and the rest of the year from a business growth perspective. And you can define business growth any way you like. You can say, well, it's the number of leads that came in, or you could talk about the engagement of a membership group, or you could talk about how much PR you get, or you could talk about the effectiveness of whatever the particular marketing plan. But something happens that's very strange in December, January, and that's what I wanted to explore today. There's a real challenge. On one hand, it's Christmas time. Staff checks out. Sometimes there's tough decisions we have to make towards staff, and we just procrastinate. There's a question, well, our budget sort of should be a certain number, and it isn't reaching there. And who knows, because there's all kinds of change in our industry, or in some people's worlds, the regulatory framework. So next year's uncertain, so we got to make sure everything's right. And there's all these different challenges, and there's tons of them. People become a little slower. People have new goals, but gee, on the other side, there's huge opportunities in the new year, because the new year, new opportunities. So what I wanted to do really now is explore in really just like 4 or 5 concept slides, and then open the gates for any questions or comments that people actually have. And the first one that I really wanted to talk about was what I call business development and delivery. And what I mean by that is, what are some of the specific tasks that can be actually finished, delivered, and billed before the year end, right? Because sometimes things leak into January, whether it be on something that you're actually building or working on, or a big project, or maybe you're not getting the funding. The billing doesn't happen until afterwards. So what can you actually get done before the year end? The number 2 question is, what kind of contracts can be signed before the year end? There's a joke in the world of sales that there's a special day of the year that only happens once a year, which is kind of a silly thing to say, but the date I'm talking about is December 32nd. And the reason why that's kind of a joke amongst people in the world of sales is that you're always trying to hit that target of whatever it is by December 31st, because that's the year end. But gee, if it just leaks over to December 32nd, we can sort of backdate it to December 31st, and the salespeople get their commissions, and everybody's happy. Well, not everybody's in a commission kind of sales world, okay? But many of us are in contract worlds. So some of the things that you can do is you could think about, well, who are my clients that actually may have worked for us, that we may need to sign? What are some of the discovery meetings that we can set up for early January? Now, when I say discovery meetings, what I mean is this: all the stakeholders, all the people that you deal with, every single one of them has a plan of what they're going to do for the year. It's probably decided months ago, and in all on all fairness, probably months ago is when you should have been having these conversations. But very often, they might not be ready for you to have these conversations yet. So if you went to a number of clients that you have and had what I call the discovery meeting, you can ask questions that you can't really ask at any other time of the year. Now, please, the January discovery meeting, it's not a sales meeting. What you do is you go to them and you say, listen, we're doing some internal resource planning. There's a lot changing in our world, but I know that we work with you. Last year we finished this project, or we finished this, whatever it happens to be. And we're just trying to make sure that we've got the right resources and we've got things blocked in. And before we even talk to you about anything specific, we'd like to actually just hear what's on your agenda. And just so we've got a sense. There's no commitments or anything. It's just really an exploration of views. And so that's That's something that really can only happen here. Actually, let me back that up. If you're in the call of the academic world where things are really from a September to August kind of cadence, you could have this meeting in September as well. Okay, August, September, beginning of October, right? But for most other organizations, it's a calendar year. So, what are the questions to ask in a discovery meeting? The first is really, well, we want to understand your next year's priorities. And because no meeting with anybody that you're working with can ever be something where it's take, the question that you should ask before you even ask for the meeting is, how can I help them? How can I add value? How can I make sure that when they meet with us, they know that they've got value right from the start? It's not a fishing expedition. It's not market research that's faking its way into a sales call or whatever, but bona fide, what can you actually help them with? So one of the things you can do is you can say, well, what's our market outlook, right? What do we see in this particular sector, right? So you do like an issues and trends analysis, whatever it is. So you bring your perspective to the table as well. That can help them in their planning, but it also helps credentialize you. Because you've spent time putting this together in their context, one of the things you can also say is, we also had a few ideas to run by you. Given the particular issue and trend, well, here's some implications we see, and here's some issues that might come up about it that you may not have thought of, and gee, we've got some stuff that can help. Now, once again, this is not a sales meeting, so what you can do is you can say, well, we've got a white paper we've really written already that explores the issue. We've got some other resources on our website that we've just put up or we're about to put up that I think would address that issue as well. Effectively, what you're doing is you're locking in a certain degree of thought leadership, okay, as a way to give back during the January discovery meeting. Okay, so that's probably, in my view, one of the most important things. And it doesn't matter really what type of organization you are. The question is, who are the stakeholders that you deal with, that you can actually have that meeting with? Okay, so the next thing that you can do is the question of assessing the market. And by that, I sort of hinted at it before, but the concept of an issues and trends analysis. Now, what an issues and trends analysis is this. Imagine you're the CEO, executive director, you're the head honcho of a particular organization, okay, of a typical organization within industry. What are the things that keep that CEO up at night? What are the issues and trends that cause them to lose sleep? What are the things that they should be worried about? What are the issues and what are the trends? Now, you can go to Dr. Google and you can search trends in such and such industry, and you'll get all kinds about this time of year, all kinds of things that say, well, it's this, it's this, it's this, it's this, it's this. I think if you're doing an issues and trends report yourself, you shouldn't just rely on some of that. You should actually spend some analytical firepower and do your own research, right? And come up with your own opinion as to what the issues and trends are. And what you should be looking for are for any potential fundamental disruptions. So last year, for example, guess what? Almost a year ago was ChatGPT and the whole generative AI sort of go to market that so many of these different companies had, right? What if you had actually gone to them, like we'd gone to some of our clients and said, by the way, this is upcoming. Okay, how are you poised to consider that? And this is interesting because once again, it adds value to your stakeholders, your prospects, your clients, anybody else that you deal with, but also supports your own organization's strategic planning. So if you got a sense as to what are the issues and trends, then you can do a bit of scenario planning and say, okay, if that turns out to be true, here's what this is how we might address it. If this becomes true, this is how we might address it. And if this becomes true, here's how we might address it. And that's, once again, fundamental to a strategic planning process, even if you're off cycle in terms of where your strategic planning actually is. The third thing, okay, besides biz dev and including the January discovery and assessing the market, is what kind of marketing and content work can be done during this time. And this is an interesting time because, supposedly December is slow, and it is true. A lot of people take time off, but not everybody, right? And this is probably one of the best times to ask the question, okay, rather than just looking at everybody who's still at the office as being kind of holding down the fort, perhaps you can actually get some interesting things accomplished during this time that might not otherwise actually occur. And some of the things are things you might, as an organization, do generally, okay, but just getting it out of the way means you've got a lot more concentrated time, sometimes without the distraction of a million emails and calls and meetings and other pressures. So what do I mean? Social post scheduling, writing newsletter articles. If you use marketing automation for outreach, re-looking at all the sequences, webinar contents, if your organization does that. Maybe it's time to re-examine your branding. Maybe it's time to develop trade show collateral and actually work that into the production schedule. I'm not so sure what it is. Maybe it's experimentation if you haven't done so already with ChatGPT and all of the other AI tools. But the idea of actually setting this particular time as a time boxed zone to actually accomplish marketing and content objectives means it's an awful lot easier. Now, the next thing is a little bit difficult, and this is assessing your team. Usually this happens at a performance appraisal where there's all this paperwork and all these decisions. And by the way, it's not just your team, it's all the partner organizations that you actually work with. But let's talk about the team specifically. So normally, the performance appraisals, are they doing their job, right? How could they get better? What's their, career objectives, that kind of thing. How many points out of 5 do they get for they try hard? No, this is something different. Okay, this is a matter of almost saying for each person on your team, are we getting the highest and best use of this individual? Do they have the capability of doing more? Or is there a gap that we need to sort of figure out how do we move them up to that next level? Is the person fully engaged? Or are they sort of checked out a little bit, right? The amount that can be done if somebody is fully engaged in terms of quality work and making a very significant difference to the organization and to everybody that you serve is dramatic. And I think that's one of the big challenges in organizations is managers not actually asking the question, how do I fully engage everybody in my team? And the reason why, sadly, is not all of them are fully engaged too. The next question is really, is there a developmental path for them? What are you doing in terms of ensuring that they skill up to whatever you actually need them to do? And the final question is, are they economic? Okay, everybody costs an organization a certain amount of money. Everybody costs. You had somebody else that costs is cost. But is the organization, are they paying their way? Is the organization making a difference? Are they earning enough, if you will, to justify their salary? We see sometimes in some of these very, very large organizations, we hear such and such an organization's having a 3%, across the board cut, an 8% across the board cut, 200 people being laid off, whatever it is. In a certain sense, while it's very tragic for those involved, very often it's the leadership saying, you know what, there's a lot of people who aren't economic. Given our size of our organization, we didn't need them. And then conversely, the question is this, is somebody bringing in so much money, if you will, that there's a risk that they're not being shown appreciation, either with recognition or with commission or salary, or something. So assessing your team through those lenses is actually quite important. The thing that sadly too much of us spend our time on is admin. And even those of us who are efficient at administration throughout the year find that by the end of the year, there's a lot of desk piles. There's a lot of stuff that's kind of hanging around your office, your virtual office, okay, your computer office, your actual desk and shelves. And now's the time, during this period of time, we've got this amazing opportunity to actually do some cleanup, which means cleaning up your desk files, update filing and getting rid of filing, cleaning out the cruft from your computer and emails, reviewing your weekly schedule, because sometimes we get into this, this is what we do every week, and maybe re-looking at it and getting rid of the things on your schedule that don't make sense. Maybe this is the time to update to new tech, like a phone or iPad versus paper or computer. But using the special time for administration is also important. Finally, and this is kind of a bit of a two-parter, is what specific professional development can you begin in December? Too often, this time really is actually kind of dead, right? But if you're able to give people the opportunity to actually learn and skill up on almost any dimension, most people would be thrilled, because it shows, number one, you're actually investing in them. Number one. Number two, where they feel compelled to actually use those skills to, in a certain, pay back their employer, right? So the question is, rather than starting professional development in the busiest parts of the year, is there any way that you could make it at this time? So the question is really, are you investing in your people? And most professional development, is basically like the cost of a coffee each day for the team. It's really not so much. So that's the second, in terms of us, and this is, Brain Trust Professional Institute, which is, where Rania and I are. We invest in training. Both Rania and I are in the middle of yet another certification, and oh my God, the amount of stuff that we do beyond that is just absolutely huge, because you can't actually learn, okay, unless you're actually putting new raw material in and then processing in your context. So that's kind of what we do. And that's the end of the formal part of the presentation itself. What to do next? I just thought this. If there's nothing you do, you can do. In this like 45 minutes or so, an hour that we spend together, is actually say to yourself, really, between now and the beginning of the year, January, are there some special things that you can actually move everything forward to? Whoops, sorry, I just realized I hadn't turned this. This is what we do. Okay, there's Brain Trust Professional Institute, and where a lot of our clients do their professional development. So what I was saying is, what's the one thing that you can do, or the two or three things that you can do? Is it the January discovery meetings? Is it some special marketing contact, or is it your team, or is it doing the old clean, clean, clean? Or is it really investing in yourself, or really for your members, or for your teammates, or whatever? And what I wanted to do really now is open the open the line and see if there's anyone who wants to add their own 2 cents, or if there's any other comments, Rania, that I forgot about.
No, but happy to hear questions from whoever's here. I have one, but I'm happy. I'll be patient and I'll wait if Katrina or Jason have any.
No real
So
questions.
this is the interactive part of our presentation here. So feel free to hop in, and anything that resonates, or anything that you do during this December, January time that you think really moves the enterprise forward, so to speak. Thoughts?
Yeah, I don't really have a question about it. I really liked, especially the first two, the positioning that happens with both of those, as either establishing or reinforcing your role as a trusted advisor to that person, that company that you're in there, having that meeting with, showing them market trends, especially as I think it could even apply to, hey, we don't even do this, but this is what's happening in your industry. Just, you can expand that to where they see you even beyond maybe your little role of, you sell this thing. Oh, wow, that's interesting. Then your perception in that company is even broader. So I really like that.
Oh, thank you, Jason. I do have to admit it. It's actually embarrassing to me. You know, I and the reason why is that some people see me as an author, and they say, "Oh, you speak at conferences." Yes, I'm in the Hall of Fame of Speakers. Okay, then other people say, "Oh, you're an advisor to CEOs." And I said, "Yeah, that's kind of what I do most of my time." Okay, then somebody says, "Oh, I didn't." Somebody else says, "Oh, you're a speaker. I didn't know you coach." Then somebody else says, "Oh, you're a coach. I didn't know that you had all this professional development for associations and entrepreneurs." And it's frustrating because on one hand, I want to just go like shake, shake, shake. Okay, by the way, that's kind of what's in the house here. On the other hand, it's you don't want to be too salesy, right? So for me, it's always a question of saying, okay, so, and I'm not talking about me here. I'm really talking about anybody. If you really are an expert in your area, prove it. What have you written? What are you actually sending out to the people that are in your orbit or that you want to be in your orbit? Okay, Katrina, I don't know all the details of your association, but if you're moving from a regulatory sort of mandated membership type organization to one that's a voluntary organization, you know, it's true. I've seen it in other clients. People see membership in a mandatory one as being a tax. And very often, the best professional associations, they see membership as being a huge benefit, place to learn, share, grow, and belong. And that's a huge, huge branding shift where thought leadership, as an example, or professional development, all the things that they actually need to be successful, are totally, totally critical, right? So I don't know. I just see it as a very interesting thing. So for me, doing issues and trends reports, you know, I've had quite a few of my clients start doing those precisely for this reason. Not just to have January meetings, but as a way to sort of build a lot of thought leadership content of their own rather than always taking somebody else's and therefore imputing value in actually what they do. So, Katrina, any
Yeah.
comments?
Yeah, certainly everything that you've just described is what we're going through. We are fortunate in our position that we have great relationships with a lot of industry partners. And so that's where that's where I started in this role, was having those initial discovery conversations to see where were the gaps where we weren't overlapping that we could, and where are those sort of natural fits that will help establish a really more of like our base operations, so that as we do the work to prove to potential members why they should belong to the association or why they might like to, we at least have the base of activities and support within the industry that's helping our, support our association.
Yeah, yeah. Going right to the source and asking those questions. I remember there was some movie, I can't even remember what it was, but there's a coach with their team in the locker room, and they had the word assume, ASSUME, and they put a big slash through after the word ASS, and then after the letter U. And I still remember that this coach says, if you assume, you make a out of you and me, right? Because we think we know everything, but until we actually speak to people and find out what the issues are, right? I think there's a world of discovery. I think, Katrina, if you haven't done any focus groups or with your members about right now what they see valuable in the association and what they would like to see more and what they're missing, I think that'd be fascinating as well. Just absolutely fascinating.
Yes, we just started that process. So
Oh,
we
beautiful.
are we're doing a member satisfaction survey. Within that, there are some small interviews and focus groups to help shape the overall survey that would go out to everyone. So that's an activity that is just starting, and we hope to see it. So it will be interesting to see if what we think we know is accurate, and if we discover some things that we don't already know.
Yeah, no, good. If you've got focus groups and a survey and all that kind of stuff, I just hope that you're able to do enough open-ended discovery type questions rather than affirmation questions. Um, oh, we had somebody and she just left.
It's okay, maybe she'll join back in. Anyway, I had a thought I wanted to share. I'm here at Brain Trust on the other side, and I see how Randall works with his clients, his coaching clients, and he's had this, December talk with clients, and I've heard him give the advice. But having seen Randall lead, here he gave you sort of the laundry list of what to do and check off. But in terms of the leadership, as you as leaders executing that with your team, one of the ways that Randall is exceptional as a leader is he opens it to the team. What do you guys think we should do? What do you want to work on? Right. So sure enough, some of your smart cookie employees will come up with some of the items on your to-do list, and you get to say, great job. You get to lead that, right? So here you sort of saw the list and you sort of, technically we're going to give it out to whoever's around. But obviously there's, a charisma and a leadership approach to how you delegate this. Maybe Randall, you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, no, I think that's brilliant. Thank you, Rania. Yeah, so I think whatever your size of your organizations, whether it's one or a thousand, the whole question of how do you actually get people to buy into your ideas is fundamentally what Rania said. The ideas have to come from them. Okay, yeah. So fine, you could take a look at this list and you can say, okay, here's a whole bunch of stuff, and we'll have the replay. We'll send out to everybody. And yeah, that's a good list. Okay, but the good list for you is one thing, and also there's a good list for your employees, for your partners, for everybody who's around you. And the question is for them, what's their good list? Because between the two, it's almost like what's the intersection between the two? And if they buy into some of the ideas which are yours because they came up with it, that can often provide the momentum to say, fantastic idea. Do you think you can get that done by such and such? Oh, I've got one other thing. Can you add on to that as well? Because when there's momentum, excuse me, people are more likely to actually do stuff than when there's not. And I think that's that's something so powerful to attach your ideas to when it's somebody else's momentum. So
yeah, I think also one of the cute expressions I've heard Randall use is like the CEO pixie dust, like the leader pixie dust, that you can, Randall, you talked about this at the end of, I mean, didn't make it into your slides, but if you want to speak to that also.
Yeah, I think, and I don't want to call it CEO pixie dust or even leader pixie dust. I think that all of us, in our roles, whether whatever the organization, we've built credibility with other people, right? We may have a title, okay, they may be paying us money, we may be paying, it doesn't matter. Over a certain amount of time, we've built a certain level of trust, and that gives us the opportunity to sprinkle pixie dust in the area that you actually want stuff to actually have happen. What does it cost, for example, to say to somebody, that's a really good job. Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way. You know something? Let's just sit down and talk about just what a great experience that was for fill in the blank third party. Okay. And it costs nothing to give people recognition, but it's far more valuable than a bonus. It's far more valuable than waiting for 6 or 12 months for a performance appraisal. Okay. It'll buy you like anything that you want when you give people recognition that's deserved, not fake. Right. And I think that we forget, and honestly, this really should have been another slide, is what can we do beyond the Christmas parties and the Christmas bonus and the, I don't know, whatever else your organization does, excuse me, what can you do to recognize those around you and say, something, you really made a difference. You made a difference to the people out there. You made a difference to your teammates. You made a difference to me. Right? And it costs nothing. Right? Hey, Branya, you made a difference to all our clients. Right?
Jason, you also made a difference, and you, Katrina.
Yeah, exactly. So like what does it cost? It costs nothing, right? And the strangest thing is when you give people recognition, their respect for you grows. Why? Because they say, aha, so and so noticed that I matter, right? And I think that's a very special thing. That was definitely a miss from the presentation. Thanks. Next person. 2025 business growth kickstart. If we do it again, it will be on there. Okay, how about that?
I also want you to speak on, you work in different places, like Randall said, there's the staff party, there's, the check or no check or gift or chocolates or whatever are typical. But I think Randall's very clever in his approach to client appreciation. We're in the, trying to help their businesses grow. He tries to give a gift, not something, like a token gift, but he tries to give them that'll help their organization or help that person in their leadership role. So I've actually seen, Randall, if you get that slide back up that you can show on the website, our courses that we offer to our corporate clients, and anyone can purchase them off the site. But
Let me find it 1 sec.
Showing someone that I care about your career and I care about you growing in this way, it's not just the checkmark gift, but you're really helping them.
True. 1 second. I can bring that up. 1 second.
Randall's also given like team building activities to organizations. You know what I mean? Like really showing that I'm not just checking you off my list, but really think I'm in my role as business coach, even in the gifts I give you. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly.
Go to the website, Randall. You see in the slide. We want the website.
Yeah,
I'll put it in that, actually. The slide is static.
Yeah, 1 second. Just bring up this is not pre-planned, by the way. You could probably tell. My apologies for that.
But yeah, I like that, because that is it's a gift in alignment with who you are, the relationship you have with that client, and it just, yeah.
Absolutely. If you're going to spend hundreds of bucks on a gift card, you could also help them grow their organization. They'll appreciate for it. Hi, Heather. Welcome. Welcome. Heather, you with us? Okay, she'll say hi when she's ready. Sorry, Brandon, you're showing us something?
Yeah, I'm just yeah, to tell you the truth, it sounds really stupid, but I'd much rather give clients a bunch of access to brain trust courses, and it's just it really is much more aligned. It's really much more aligned, and I don't really care how much it costs me. If it makes a difference to a client, building influence and impact, for example. If I go into one of these ones, there's a beautiful video, and then there's a workbook and everything. I don't know. It's just something that's a lot better. Like, honestly, people, you can only have so many bottles of wine when you give stuff to people, right? I had somebody give me a knife set once. What do I need another knife set for? Really? So, let me. Do you want me? Can I turn off the sharing, Rania? Or
Yeah, sure.
There we go. Now I could see everybody. Any other comments, questions, points people would like to make? And Heather, pleased to meet you.
I finally got my mic on. Thanks.
Heather,
Not a
we'll
problem.
send you the replay after this, but you missed lots and lots of good brainstorming. We're sort of just picking Randall's brain here on other ways we could use our leadership and make decisions at this time of year that we can't, that's best made now. Any thoughts
Right.
on that? Or you'll hear the conversation and start keeping pace?
I'll just let you guys go ahead and I'll join in as you're talking.
I have a question, Randall. So we have all kinds of employees. We have our keeners and keeners with a small K. Maybe they're not as keen as the ones with the capital K. At this time of year, is it reasonable that employees feel like, oh, I'm going to get a little bit of a free ride or easy ride, or come in late or leave early or take the Friday off? Like, is that the mentality, or is there a way around that?
Well, let's just say that whenever there's a long weekend, on Friday afternoon, not so much is done, right? Because people are thinking about the Friday afternoon. For most employees, Christmas Eve day, the office is open. There's not much thinking about work deadlines because people are thinking about the upcoming
Is there a way
festivities.
around that, Randall?
Pardon?
Is there a way around that, or is that par for the December course?
No, I think it's a matter of realizing that your employees are actually real people. They've got lives, they've got businesses, right? They've got all kinds of things going on. So it's a question of setting expectations. If you're the kind of employer that wants to sort of, hold people's knuckles to the fire, right into the last minute, I don't think, you're going to get the best work from them during this period of time. What I'm saying though is that if the expectation is, if there's an exciting project that they're only going to get this time part of the year, for example, professional development, or opening up, doing this issues and trends analysis, or pardon me, or whatever that special project is, and it's motivating to them, they'll self-regulate. And rather than going into slow motion mode, they're going to say, wow, this is a real opportunity for me. I'm keen, I'm engaged, right? Which is very different than saying, okay, this is just before the time that you're going to spend a week off with your family, and we want to, we really want, like, that never worked, and it never works here, and that's not what I'm advocating here. What I really think is that people honestly want to do the best they can, and sometimes as leaders we don't expect what we really want. We hold people to lower standards, and we don't expect the best of them, and that's a leadership problem. That's not an employee problem. So if we're able to be a little bit more empathetic for our employees on one hand, helping them sort of, whether it's skilling up or rising expectations, people typically rise to expectations. But if you expect them to work like at 4:55 on a PM on a long weekend, or just before their big vacation with their family, or whatever, at the same level, you got to make sure that you've got something that is just so overpowering full, is that a word? I'm not so sure. Important to them that it's so I just think that so often we say, oh, December is time off. January, oh, there's a slow ramp up. No, I think if we just looked at this time a little bit differently, it'd be far better. And you know something, Jason, because I know that you're kind of a smaller business, because you had me on your podcast. Thank you for that. I'll say this, sometimes we because we don't always have the board of directors or the big boss on top of us, etc. Sometimes we're our own worst enemies. We say, oh, I've worked hard all year. Oh, we're just going to take the foot off the gas. Oh, we're not going to do all these things, as opposed to saying, hey, all those things that I've procrastinated, perhaps this uniquely is the time for me to do this very special project that I'm excited about, right? And so I'm going to do something that I never do. This is my office, and I'm going to sort of go over here, and I'm going to point to this over here. That's a whiteboard that when I leave my office every single day, I see sort of major milestone projects, right? And every time I leave, I see what they are. Okay, and every time I come in, I see what they are. I've got electronic versions of them as well. Like we use, at Brain Trust, we use Trello and a bunch of other things. But actually having that up there reminds me. And guess what? Usually between month of December, month of January, it's a question of saying, what's left on that big thing of check boxes, and what's going to be my exciting project for this period of time, right? And I think that whatever works for each of you and for your organizations, I think this is an exciting thing. I'll bring back what Rania said. It's not just asking, doing it yourself, but it's a question of asking your staff, your team members, your partners, all the people around you to say, what is that special project for you? What is that thing that you think that you could uniquely do during this particular time, right? And you'll get the more buy-in. So hope you like the tour of the office, by the way.
I don't have your slides. Do you want to quickly just read out the topics you spoke about? Maybe Heather has some questions. Obviously, if Katrina or Jason have anything to add, but just to
Sure, absolutely. I talked about a bunch of things: biz dev and strategy. We talked about the January discovery meeting, assessing the market and issues and trends. I gave a whole list of all the different marketing and content things that typically can be productized. Spend the time talking about assessing your team, admin, and finally the typical type of professional development type things you could do during this time as well.
Suggestion for a topic you could add to the list. It'll be new for Heather's. For everyone else here. You know, each business and organization or member organization like Katrina here, you know, you have your packages and your tiers and your combos and however you're selling your various pitches. You know, every year comes with its disruptors. This year, the big one was AI and ChatGPT. You know, Randall and I were talking about this, you know, now really is a good time to sort of take a step back and go, is this really the best way to organize my packages or my membership tiers or how I sell? Is there a way to rejig this or repackage this or reprice this, inflation, all these other considerations? Randall, do you want to speak to that?
I think that, you know, you brought up good points. I don't think I need to elaborate, but I will just extend one of your thoughts, which is this. I spoke at a conference a few weeks ago on using ChatGPT within the members of that association. And what was amazing is that there are some people that had no idea what it was. There's others who are doing all these things that were incredibly risky. It was shocking, really. It was shocking, right? And you know, when some people in a particular sector start to use something, and it's bad, instead of, you know, rising tide floats all boats. Well, guess what? A sinking tide kind of, you know, bottoms all boats. I don't know. And some of the people were just so scared about it because they didn't understand, okay, here's how you can do some safe experiments, etc. Almost everybody I spoke to, you know, there's a lunch after my keynote. Nobody had an employee acceptable use policy for ChatGPT or for AI generally, I should say. No, thank you very much. We've got one. You know, we give it to our clients, right? So it's just that. Sorry?
I'm interrupting to say it's in our AI resource kit on the website. Part of our resource kit is our own personal acceptable use policy for AI.
Yeah. So all my point is that yeah, the whole area of AI is just. I mean, Google just came out with their Gemini announcement just a few hours ago. Okay, about what they're doing and how they're embedding this new technology into Bard and their Pixel phones and a whole bunch of other things. It's moving so quickly. And the problem is that most organizations and most people, you know, they've got their day jobs, right? And they haven't sort of figured this out. Heather, is it Heather or is it Heater?
No, it's Heather.
Okay, wonderful. Would
It
you
does say Heater there. I don't know why.
It's not a problem. That's why I asked. I didn't want to call you the wrong thing. Heather, what organization are you in? May I ask?
Yeah, actually, I'm building my own consulting business at the moment. I've spent the past 30 some odd years in financial services and last 20 specifically in association, large associations.
Okay.
And so, you know, kind of last one was CPA Canada, so quasi corporate. That said, what I'm doing now is trying to look at the association market and from my research, I understand that, you know, there's a real lack of compelling value propositions across the industry. And for those that even have them, they have trouble communicating them because of the change to digital. And, you know, a lot of smaller associations don't have the money to afford someone with my background and skill set. So I'm trying to go in and help the CEOs and the EDs to be able to take a refreshed look at that value proposition and to make it fit for purpose, if you will, for the digital market. So it's all new to me. The GPT thing is wild. I was restructured about a year ago, so it hadn't really hit us on a corporate level, but you know, I've been trying to learn what I can about it. And actually, I was just at a conference the other day where they were talking about the federal government has just introduced its own policy for federal entities which is on the Gov website, and that it's based on principles. So again, this is all kind of like the Wild West, right? And whether it's Copilot or chat or this new one you're talking about, Randall, it's really hard as someone trying to be in business to keep up with it all.
So Heather, let me offer you something if you're interested. I'm actually in the I'm actually CFA by training. I'm an FCMC. I usually don't advertise those, but I think you know what they mean.
Yeah.
And I've also worked at KPMG for 9 years, and I know an awful lot about the consulting business. Although I don't really do consulting so much anymore, just because so much is in my coaching business. But we're not competitive, but I know the association space exceptionally well as well. If you'd like to do a one-on-one with me, I'd be happy to give you any kind of input on perspective, on growing a solo consulting firm. Nothing in it for me really, other than love to see people who are entrepreneurial and have got some experience, figure out how to add value to the marketplace. So
That's great. Thank you. That's incredibly generous, Randall. I absolutely will take you up on that. I'd be honored to have your input.
I'll also, thank you, Rania. So I'll offer I'll offer this to everyone. I mean, Jason, we've had a couple great conversations. Katrina, if you're at all interested, I always offer to people after I meet them, a 1 hour of my time, almost an ask me anything session. And if you think you want to pepper me with your toughest questions for an hour, okay, I'd be very happy to answer them the best I can. And there's no obligation. Okay. No, I shouldn't say this. Okay, Katrina, in your case, what I'll say is this: at the end of the hour, you give me like 30 seconds to ask 2 questions, which is, did we move the needle on whatever your toughest questions are? If the answer is that is yes, my second question is, do you think we might have another conversation at some point? Right. And that's the only obligation. There's nothing more. Okay. I know Jason and I have spent some time in the past, and hopefully that moved the needle for you, Jason. Right. So
Thumbs.
That's 2 thumbs. That's not 1 thumb. Then they're both going upward. That's good.
Listen, before sorry, Ryan, you want to say something?
I was just going to say, I'm happy to stay on until the top of the hour. Rania, do we have anything else?
Well, just with Heather joining us and saying she's starting her own consulting firm, which is very exciting, and we're very happy for you and wish you every success. It's going to be phenomenal. You know, the different a theme that I've seen poking up here in this presentation, you know, and especially for Heather, who's starting her own consulting firm, but ultimately for anybody, you know, we need to be able to, you know, influence those around us, be a positive, motivating leader and respected voice in the room, a trusted advisor, as Jason Zeff said, you know. And today's session, you know, I said it came across sort of, you know, the to-do list, all these things we can do, but we still have to infuse into that being a leader and motivating people, inspiring people, connecting with our clients, connecting with new prospects and stakeholders, having those conversations. And we do that by being a respected person. So one of the, while Randall was talking, I put together here a discount code. Don't tell him, you're all my new best friends, for the Building Influence and Impact course. I recommend everybody have a look for that for yourselves. If you want to give gifts to your employees, to your sister, you know, we really, our business model is not selling these one per pop on small group webinars. We offer sort of larger packages to corporations. But just to consider, you know, starting the new year, what is your impact going to be? Who are you when you enter the room? Do people want to work with you? Are they looking for someone in your field, Heather, someone just another consultant, or they want to work with you because you have that special reputation? Anything you want to speak to that, Randall?
Yeah, 1 sec. We're not in the business of becoming social media influencers. Okay, honestly, I think that it's a question of saying, how do you take those steps to thought leadership? How do you take those steps to to a place where people say, let me do my due diligence, and they do that due diligence on you, and they say, boy, this person's for real, this organization's for real, really. And I just think that's an important clarification. There's too many, influencer types, but the question of how do you build influence and take those steps to thought leadership and have an impact in a particular market. It's not rocket science, but at least it's in one place. So thanks for putting together the code, Rania. Like I said, this is not exactly a formal planned webinar. It's really more of a discussion and everything. Like, are you saying that if I sort of threw up, instead of throwing up that building influence and thing for the brain trust, if I put another one up, you would have done a coupon code for that? Jeez. Okay, good thing I did this one then.
Our plan is to do these sort of small group sessions monthly, and the January topic is going to be advisory boards and developing advisory board. If you don't have one, or how to get the most of yours if you do have one. The date for that is going to be January 31. I'll grab the link. And we'd love to see you there. And if you have any other topic suggestions for future month leadership topics, we're totally open to suggestion. It's fun to give the people what they want.
Super. Any final comments, Katrina?
No, I'll answer your questions that you offered though. That I didn't come here with any big specific questions. I think it was more of an information gathering exercise for myself, and it's great to know that we're already doing a few of the things that you mentioned, and I like the idea of having all the potential projects listed on the whiteboard. We have a general feeling of, we always have projects that we can pick up and run with, but it would probably be helpful to the rest of the team to have those in a list where we can see them at regular intervals and be reflecting on when we have those slower times, or then maybe we can move those projects forward even a couple of steps.
Yeah, Katrina, if you do take me up on my 1 hour offer, not ask me anything offer, please remind me. I'd be willing to sort of open the kimono and show you behind the scenes on how we do that using Trello. And not to say you should change a tool or whatever, but I think sometimes when you just see different things, it gives you ideas as to how you might want to do it. And I'd be okay to actually showing you behind the scenes.
Great, thank you.
Heather, I'm happy to do that for you as well.
Thank
Jason,
you.
I don't mean to leave you out, but if you want to.
Sure.
Whatever. Too late, Randall. No, I don't need your pity. But yeah, I just want to say to definitely take him up on it. I before we had our interview even, and that was another great session. But I've been through one of those calls. Been through. I've been through one of these calls. That sounds horrible. No, I was able to experience one of these fantastic calls, and in fact, to this day I tell people about his framework for them because it's so good and powerful and wonderful and filled with value. So I encourage you both to do that for sure.
Oh, does that sort of buy you 1 extra hour, Jason, of which I'm happy, which would it's just fun. Katrina, though, honestly, please remind me about Trello, okay? I won't remember it, okay, because I'm not taking notes right now, okay?
Absolutely, I will.
Super duper. Listen, folks, it's been absolutely wonderful. It's 12:59. We're scheduled to 1 o'clock. Okay, if I see meetings come in at that randallcraig.net/60, I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Probably be in January.
And if we aren't already connected on LinkedIn, we'd love to stay in touch. And I want to wish everybody happy holidays and a wonderful, wonderful 2024, a very successful personally and professionally. And Heather, we're going to see your new company in lights. It's going to take over.
Yeah.
You're going to be
I just want to get the website up in the new year.
Jason, have her on your podcast. Give her a platform.
There you go.
Thanks so much for showing up.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay,
Happy
bye-bye.
holidays.
Thank
Thanks
you
so much.
Y'all again soon.